by broadcaster Kel Richards, Sky News contributor Evelyn Ray, senior reporter Caroline Marcus and contributor Joe Hildebrand. Well, the rising anti-Semitism we have seen on our streets and, of course, university campuses in recent weeks has led to calls for tougher hate speech laws. Those calls have been quite persistent since October the 7th. Well, Attorney General Mark Dreyfus is reportedly drafting new laws which would criminalise serious cases of vilification based on a person's race, sexuality, gender, disability or religion. The Age reported today that the bill would, quote, strengthen existing laws while creating new offences carrying criminal rather than civil penalties, and is likely to cover deliberate acts that intend to incite violence or cause harm. Now, I think we've all been on something of a unity ticket that something needs to be done about hate speech laws. My problem is that we already have hate speech laws, they just haven't been applied, and I cannot work out what they think new federal laws will actually achieve. To use New South Wales as an example, this is publicly threatening or inciting violence. Section 93Z of the Crimes Act. If someone intentionally or recklessly by public act threatens or incites violence against another person or a group of persons because of race, religious belief, sexual orientation, gender identity, intersex status, HIV/AIDS status, they are guilty of an offence under the law. You would have thought that was already covering it. Vilification, which is what we're talking about here. Anti-Discrimination Act, a public act that could incite hatred, serious contempt, severe ridicule towards people because of their race, sexual orientation, HIV/AIDS status, transgender status or religion. Are these issues, Evelyn, not already covered by the law? We're just not applying the law. We don't need more laws. We just need a gutsy police force and DPP to actually use what they already have.
Yeah, like you said, we already have laws that criminalise violence, and not just like violence like post-act, but incitement.
Correct.
So we already have that. And, you know, I think arbitrary laws lead to danger. I think arbitrary laws, unnecessary laws, give the government a lot more power than they should have to wield against the rights of your everyday law-abiding citizen. I think it has too much room for exploitation, you know, and at the moment we have to be honest. The state religion is wokeism, and I fear that adding more unnecessary arbitrary laws is only going to hurt anyone who is anywhere from the far left up the scale, because they're unfortunately in power at the moment. It's too subjective. If you actually read what they're trying to propose, they talk about harm and what harms people, and you only have to go on social media or any sort of social gathering to see people think it's harm if you quote the Bible.
Yeah.
People think it's harm if you just read scriptures. I mean, you know, they're trying to, you know, protect hatred against, you know, they say anti-Semitism and things. But I fear that that's just the scapegoat. That's what, you know, they'll never let a crisis go to waste. And I think the government are using this, which is something that shouldn't be happening, but they're using that as an opportunity to bring in laws that are going to affect everyday Australians. And I think it's really dangerous. Thought policing shouldn't be allowed in our country. And, you know, as much as I hate people telling me as a Christian that I'm an idiot and I should shut up, there is absolutely no way I think people should be put in prison for that. And like you and I have said, there are already laws for actual tangible crimes, and we just need a gutsy court. I don't even think it's the police, I think it's the courts, because so often you see police arrest people, they go to the courts to see justice and they get a slap on the wrist and they go home.
Well, the cases we've seen in New South Wales are the DPP not wanting to prosecute it. But I mean, seriously, October the 7th was what, 8-9 months ago now. And what, the Albanese government's just suddenly woken up and decided something needs to be done? Seriously, Caroline?
There have been so many incidents, and like Evelyn, I'd be concerned that these laws would become virtual blasphemy laws. And let's face it, Christians are not the group that are good. People who are attacking Christians are not who they're going to be going after. Let's be honest here. It's other religions or religion per se. And I think we have certainly got the laws in place already, and that's something that both the Prime Minister and the opposition leader agreed in a documentary that's coming out on Tuesday that Josh Frydenberg is doing. Not to give an obvious plug to that, but they make very clear comments in that, both leaders, that we have the laws in place.
Yeah.
They're just not being enforced. Why aren't they being enforced? Why are we seeing people allowed to protest violently on the streets of the Opera House, calling for F the Jews, calling for where's the Jews, as the police claim, if not other anti-Semitic chants? How is that allowed to happen? It's in front of hundreds of police officers and nothing.
Well, I think you've answered your own question. I think this is where the problem lies, and this is why the DPP has had difficulty in prosecuting these cases, because they're in all these cases, including the "Where's the Jews" versus "Gas the Jews" comment. I mean, that we all know when they're saying "Where's the Jews? Where's the Jews?" What are they saying? They're not going to invite them to a tea party.
They want to fight.
But you can't prove that beyond reasonable doubt in a court of law, right? So this is the problem. So if there is not an explicit threat of violence or an explicit incitement of violence, it makes it very, very difficult.
But even expressing hatred for a particular religious group.
No, but if
which
the
those
New South
trans
Wales
people did.
legislation says if you recklessly by a public act, so it doesn't have to be intentional. So surely under those terms, you could make the argument that going down to the Opera House and shouting "Where's the Jews" is an incitement to violence, couldn't you?
You could definitely make the argument, but could you prove it beyond a reasonable doubt?
Well, if you've got an unreasonable judge, maybe not.
But again,
that's common sense, isn't it?
Of course it's common sense. This is the exact problem. So these people are not out there saying, "I am going to kill Jews," or "I want you to go out and kill Jews." Even the hate preachers in the mosques that have been highlighted, and they are a small minority, but a very worrying one. Again, they don't go out there and saying, "I'm going to go and kill a Jew." They say, "I hope Allah kills the Jews."
Yeah.
Right? So then you're saying, "Oh, well, should there be a law against prayer?" You know, for gay conversion, sometimes there is. And I think this is the problem. And so if you say, "Oh, you know, we've already got these laws, but they're not being enforced," well, the problem is that, you know, when someone says "from the river to the sea," now, is that a call for genocide and the eradication of Israel? Certainly every Jewish person, or most Jewish people, feel that it is, and most sensible people feel that it is, and the Prime Minister has said clearly that's what it's calling for. You don't have to look at a map to know that it's calling for the eradication of Israel, which surely would be genocide by any other name. But again, these people can say, "Oh no, we're just calling for a nice multicultural Palestine," right? So how do you prosecute the meaning of words beyond a reasonable doubt? And I think that is the difficulty.